the Begode ET Max. The Begode ET Max is an absolute powerhouse of a wheel. This thing has been amazing. I've had it for about 2,000 miles now, and we're gonna talk about it. First things first, let's talk numbers. Obviously, if you ride a unicycle, you wanna know the numbers, right? The ET Max has a 3,000 watt hour battery, a 4,500 watt tile motor, and boasts speeds over 60 miles per hour. And depending on how you ride it, you'll probably get somewhere in the range of like, well, if you're riding at 60 miles an hour, you're not gonna get even 30 or 40 miles. But if you ride it easy, you'll get about 50, 60 miles out of it easily. But it's not all about the performance with the ET Max. I really wanna talk about how the ET Max has transformed the unicycle game, at least for Begode, right? Begode's a company that in the past has always been criticized for their build quality, for their lack of real innovation besides performance. Well, that all changes with the ET Max. Before we go any further with this video, I just want to give a huge shout out to the guys over at Alien Rides for sending this ET Max out to me to demo. I've absolutely fallen in love with this wheel. And I'm telling you right now, if I didn't just buy a brand new truck, this wheel would not be going back to the boys over at Alien Rides. I would absolutely be buying this wheel. I'm still trying to figure out a way to keep this wheel. I don't think I can say more about a unicycle than the fact that I am devastated that I have to send this thing back. And there's a couple of reasons for that. I mean, first of all, the performance is unlike any other wheel I've ever ridden. I own an EX30. This thing dusts the EX30. It's not even close. Realistically, the ET Max, it's just so much faster. It's so much more stable. The pickup is insane. The torque is crazy. This wheel's performance cannot be overstated. But that's not the only reason I've absolutely fallen in love with this wheel. Like I said in the intro there, this wheel does a couple of things that have changed the game for Begode. And it really all has to do with the amazing battery that's in this wheel. All right, let's talk a little bit about what it is about the battery on this unicycle that makes it so special. So, first of all, it uses the new Samsung 50S cells. The 50S cells are the newest technology released by Samsung in lithium-ion battery technology that basically have the same amount of energy density, meaning that you're gonna get the same range as the cells that we've been using for a while. So the Samsung 50E cells are generally, or the LG M50Ts, they're 5,000 milliamp hour cells. So that energy density determines how much range you're gonna get. So these cells that are in this have as much range as any other high-end range cell. What differentiates the 50S cells is that they also have huge power output capacity. I believe the 50S cells are rated for 20 amp discharge. Compare that to something like the 50E cell, which is really only rated for like 9.5 amps discharge. This means you're not only getting huge range out of this wheel, you're getting huge power output capacity, which allows them to put the voltage on this wheel up to 168 volts. You guys thought 134 volts was a big jump. 168 volts is nuts. Now, normally you wouldn't want to use that type of configuration with something like the Samsung 50E cells, because the way that these kind of batteries are assembled, right? There's series and there's parallel. Series determines your voltage, parallel determines how much range you have. An ET Max is only a 4 parallel wheel. This means if the cells are low energy output, so they're only rated for a low amperage, you can't push that much power out of them with only 4 parallels. This is why you see 3,600 watt hour, 100 volt wheels. Those are 8 parallel batteries. Or the EX30, which is a 3,600 watt hour, 134 volt wheel, that's 6 parallels. So to be able to have less parallels, but the same, if not more energy output, is a big deal for how you can assemble a battery. So the Samsung 50S cells, huge W here. But not only does it have the Samsung 50S cells, it also has a smart BMS. Now, a smart BMS is something that people have been asking for a long time in electric unicycles. We're finally seeing it from Begode. They had it in their Extreme, I believe, and now they have it in the ET Max. A huge step forward for battery technology and battery safety. Basically what a smart BMS does is it contains the same short circuit temperature protections, the same types of protections that you've seen in the older BMSs, but it also adds in the ability for individual cell group monitoring. If you open up the Begode app, you can actually see, and I'll post a picture of what it looks like here on the screen. You can actually see the individual cell groups and what their current voltage ratings are. This is super important for battery health and battery safety. That way you can actually see if you're having any issues with individual cells. Generally, when you're having a problem with a battery that might be a fire risk, it's because one of the cells inside has gone bad. So being able to see the different strings of cells and seeing their actual voltage, their health, that's a huge battery safety win for Begode. The other thing that the battery in the ET Max does, which is from now on, I'm telling you, the most important thing that every single electric unicycle has to have from now on. I will not buy another unicycle that can't charge as fast as the ET Max. The ET Max boasts 3,300 watt maximum charging. That's a 20 amp charging capacity. If you don't know anything about charging, that might sound like a lot of babble. Basically what that means is this 3,000 watt hour wheel can charge in less than an hour. Now the one caveat to that is you can really only pull 3,300 watts off of a 240 volt plug, right? The normal US plugs run at 110 volts. They're usually capped at about 20 amps. That's only, what, 2,400 watts? So in order to unlock the full 3,300 watt charging, you will need to use something like an EV car charger. I have videos in the past on how we use EV car chargers to charge electric unicycles. If you've never seen anything like that before, basically, there's a little adapter, you plug it into the EV charger, you can plug your charger into that. Just make sure your charger is rated for the 240 volt output from those chargers. But being able to charge your wheel from 0 to full in an hour, I'll tell you, you have never, ever gotten rid of range anxiety the way that something like the ET Max can handle for you. I mean, this wheel might not be the highest range wheel out there, but I have less range anxiety on this than I do on any other unicycle, simply because I can charge it so fast. So long as I'm even close to an EV charger, I'm 45 minutes away from being full battery. You know, which you just can't say about other unicycles. Generally, you know, something like my EX30, for example, the maximum charging on the EX30 is about 1,500 watts, somewhere in that range. So at a 3,600 watt hour wheel, you're talking about 2.5 hours to charge that thing at the maximum charge. So this is about 2.5 times faster charging. I'm telling you right now, mandatory from now on for all unicycles, high-speed charging. Now, that doesn't mean that this setup is without flaw, however. So you can see here, this is the charge port on the ET Max, right? I kind of like that it has this screw-on cover. I didn't know how I was going to like it, but I do like it. But if you can see up in there, the ET Max uses a GX20 3-pin plug. Now the GX20 3-pin plug, there's only one of them on the ET Max. When you're charging, all 20 amps of current is going through that one plug. And from what I understand, realistically, the GX20 adapters are really only rated for 15 amps. So while the battery BMS and the wiring harness are all able to take the 20 amps, I do get a little bit nervous pumping that much electricity through a power adapter that's just not designed to handle that kind of heat. One thing I would like to see moving forward in the future with these electric unicycles are to get away from the GX pins. The GX adapters, they're just not designed for high amperage charging. I would really like to see them go to something like XT60, XT90s, something that could handle much higher amperage ratings, like 60 amps, 90 amps, or at the very least, include 2 charge ports so I can kind of split the charge power, the amperage between 2 ports. Now, I understand why companies are a little bit hesitant to go towards using something like an XT90 or an XT60 adapter when it comes to charging these unicycles. They're trying to make it dummy proof, right? The whole point of using these GX pin adapters is that every single voltage has a different adapter. So you can't accidentally plug the wrong wheel charger into the wheel. You know, plugging something like a 100-volt charger into the ET Max, not the end of the world, but plugging a ET Max 168-volt charger into a 100-volt wheel could be really bad. If you know what you're doing with electricity, there's a lot of benefits to being able to use higher output adapters or higher output connectors, but I understand why they do it. All right, so we've gone over some of the game-changing aspects of the ET Max. It's pretty much all revolving around that battery. Other features of the ET Max, pretty standard. I mean, the motor, super beefy, but it's pretty power hungry. The lighting on the ET Max is adequate. The body has these cool LED lights in it. The tail light's fine. The headlight's fine, but nothing to write home about. Something I really kind of hope that these bigger, beefier, faster, longer range unicycles adapt in the future are better headlights. For me personally, I think the ET Max is a road cruiser. It's a little bit big and clunky to be bringing off-road. Can it do it? Absolutely. The torque is insane. It can absolutely do the off-road, but it's really designed to be king of the streets. I mean, this thing is a pocket motorcycle. I will tell you, the seated riding experience on the ET Max, bar none, the best of any wheel I've ever been on. You guys know me, I am not a sit rider. I don't really sit down and ride too much. I will say probably 80% of my riding on the ET Max is sit riding. It is just so comfortable. It's unbelievable. I mean, maybe it's just because how tall I am, right? A lot of wheels, when I try and sit on them, I'm just too low to the ground. It's not very comfortable. My legs are just sticking way up. This wheel's a little bit taller. It's super stable. Like, the sit ride experience is so comfortable. And you can just, for me, it beats any wheel I've ever sat on by a mile. Some of that might also just speak to the overall stability of this wheel. This wheel feels crazy stable. That goes back to, brings up the suspension, right? The suspension on this wheel is actually fantastic, considering it's still the static begode, just kind of like, well, it's actually a little bit different, right? They've got a coil shock now that they're using in these wheels. I like the shock from what I can tell. It's got a couple of different adjustments between the rebound, the dampening, and the preload. I believe mine has the 1,200-pound coil in it. It's pretty good for my weight, I would say. I'm like just sub 200 with no gear. It works pretty good for me. It definitely has a lot of travel. You can feel it. Listen to that. Oh my God. We got a lot of squeaking going on. I don't know what all that squeaking's about. That's new. It's all right though. I'm sure it just needs a little lube. One thing I do with all my suspension wheels, anytime I have one, is anytime I go in, take it apart, do some maintenance, I just try to put some kind of a dry lubricant on all the suspension areas, the pillars, the coil, the swing arm piece, whatever you want to call them. You just want to put some kind of a dry lubricant. Some people use PTFE. I use some kind of a silicone-based thing. PB Blaster Dry Lube. It's made for tools. This Jape works. All right, guys. So far, I have put right about just under 2,000 miles on the ET Max. I think it's like 1,800. I'm going to call it the 2,000-mile review. Sue me. The 1,800-mile review just doesn't sound as good. So we'll call this the 2,000-mile review on the ET Max. And so far, so good. Realistically, I haven't had many problems at all with this wheel. It's been through 2 or 3 light crashes. My buddy Jeff on the demo day video, which I don't know if I've released yet or not. Sorry, I'm way behind on video editing. During the demo day that I hosted for a bunch of guys, my buddy Jeff crashed it at like 30 miles an hour. Held up great. After the crash, there was some loose motor bolts, I believe. I believe it was from the crash. We didn't really notice it until we took the wheel out to a pump track and started jumping around on it. And then I got it out on the road and you could just tell it wasn't quite right. It was getting just ever so slight speed wobbles. Brought it home, opened her up. Sure enough, there was like 5 motor bolts that were loose. Tighten those up. We're back in business. We're feeling good. Other than that, I really haven't had any issues with this wheel. Everything's been working great. Some of the awesome features of the wheel that have been working well, the Smart BMS. Love the Smart BMS. Love that in the Begode app, it shows you the values of every single individual cell. It shows you when it's balancing. It shows you the health of, it shows you all sorts of stuff. Love having that information. Huge. I mean, realistically, what's it going to cost? An extra 200 bucks for a wheel to have a smart BMS in it? Please, please, please continue to make smart BMSs in the Begode wheels. Love that feature. All the lighting seems good. The tire's been great. Love the stock tire that comes on it. Yeah, overall, no real problem. Honestly, the biggest problem I've had so far is this squeaky suspension, which just started happening. Yeah, about 2,000 miles so far on this wheel, and I gotta say, it's the fastest unicycle I've ever ridden. This thing is ridiculous. The get up and go is insane. The torque is insane. The speed is insane. This wheel is crazy, crazy fast. One of the only real negatives I have to say about the ET Max is that build quality could still be a little bit better. Some of the little screws on this thing, it's a little bit over-engineered, right? There's just way too many screws on this thing. And the tolerances are really, really tight. They're really tight. So when you're gonna put this thing back together, it can be a little bit of annoying getting the pieces all to line up just properly. The really, really small screws are cheap. They tend to strip fairly easily, so be careful when you're taking this thing apart. Overall, though, not a lot of negatives here from the ET Max. This is honestly the best built electric unicycle that Begode has ever produced by a mile. All in all, if I had the money, like I said earlier in the video, I would be buying this ET Max. Unfortunately, I just don't have the funding right now. I am very interested to see some of the new unicycles coming out as well. Unfortunate timing, I think, for Begode really on the release of the ET Max, as it's kind of on the heels of the Veteran Lynx, the Sherman L, what else just came out? The V14. There's a couple of different wheels that just kind of came out all at the same time as the ET Max, the GT Pro. There's just a lot going on in the unicycle world right now. And I really think that the ET Max is being forgotten. And I'm telling you right now, do not sleep on the ET Max. Don't forget about her, because this is one of the greatest wheels that Begode has ever made. All right, well, I'm gonna be really sad to send this thing back here. My time with it's just about up. But stay tuned to the channel. We've definitely got some new things coming. The boys over at Alien Rides are sending me another new wheel to test, so stay tuned, see what wheel that is. Like, subscribe, do all that jazz to help support the channel. If you want to go above and beyond supporting the channel, this guy came in hot. But like I was saying, if you want to go above and beyond supporting the channel, be sure to use the affiliate link provided in the description below, given to me by Alien Rides. Anything that you buy using that link will give me a small kickback that we will use to continue to fund the channel and continue growing. I know, I got to get more consistent with posting. I used to post every week. Before, I used to post twice a week. I'm trying to get back on a better posting schedule. If I'm being honest with you, it's the editing that kills me. I have so many videos filmed that I want to show you guys, so many things that I've done that I just don't have the time to sit down. I shouldn't say that. I have time. I have enough time to ride. I have enough time to edit. I don't have the want and desire to sit down and edit, right? A lot of my free time that I get off of work and family life goes towards riding the unicycle. I don't want to sit down and edit videos. It kills me. But I'm going to try and get more consistent with it. Try and make maybe shorter videos. Maybe I'll do some more short content. I want to do more shorts. But hopefully you're going to see a lot more content coming back from the channel again here soon, especially now that the boys at Alien Rides are sending me another ride to test. So I hope you guys like the ET Max. I'm super excited about the ET Max. I'm really glad that my buddy Nick has one, so I can still ride it every once in a while, because man, do I love this wheel. But I think that's enough of me blabbering on. This is the 2,000 mile review of the ET Max. Absolutely in love with this thing. Go out and get you one. You won't be disappointed, I'll tell you that much. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for this video. As always, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, ride safe.